It's not a great time to be an Indian cricket fan. Indian Test cricket in particular is probably going through its worst phase. But as a fan, if I was to look for a solution, then I'd hope for having a bowler half as good as the man who's sitting right next to me, Glenn McGrath. Thanks so much for joining us. Man who's taken more than 900 international wickets. Glenn, before I get into the nitty-gritties of cricket, what brings you to India?
Well, I'm over here promoting Australia as a tourist destination for Indians. We've got the Indian tour coming up to Australia, also the World Cup, and and Australia's an amazing place. We've got incredible food, love our sports and great experiences. You can be snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef, or you can be having lunch overlooking Sydney Harbour, or dining under the stars at Uluru. So many amazing things to do, and hopefully see a lot of Indians coming out to support their team during the Test series and the World Cup.
Right. World Cup is a few months away. Now let's get from the beautiful part of Australia, let's get into the dirty bit of Indian cricket at the moment. It's not a great time for especially Indian Test team. Over the years, you've had so many battles with the Indian team, with so many greats of the past. Have you seen a Test team as disappointing or performing as poor as the current Test team? Because it's not a blip in a radar right now. It's been happening for 3 years.
Well, it's amazing how quickly things change. After the second Test in England, everyone was saying, India's gone 1-0 up, everything's going well. Then all of a sudden, the next 3 Tests, they've hit rock bottom. So, I think India's got a lot of work. The team's got a lot of work to do, but it's getting back to basics. I don't think there's any one problem. I think the way Indian team fielded was diabolical. When you're dropping so many catches, you can't put any pressure on the opposition whatsoever behind the 8 ball, and then when you go to bat, and it's bat the way India has over especially those last 3 Tests and culminating in that last innings, things are pretty bad.
Right. Many experts believe there's a different mindset to play Test cricket. You've played all formats of the game. So there's a different mindset that's needed for Test cricket, whereas the same team does really well in one day and T20. They don't seem to do well in Test cricket. Do you think that mindset is missing, or that aptitude one needs to play the 5-day game?
Not sure. I haven't spent enough time around the Indian team to know that, but there is definitely a different mindset playing Test cricket. At the end of the day, the word Test has a big part to play. It's over 5 days. It's a test both physically, skill-wise, and also mentally, and you've got to be up for that challenge. The bowlers, I thought the Indian bowlers did a reasonable job. They created a lot of chances. I've spoken about the Indian fielding. It's just the basics. You've got to be able to hold those catches and field better than they did. And then it's a confidence thing. Once you get on a bit of a roll, the batsmen not scoring runs, the pressure's on them, things are going against them, and it just goes bad to worse. But you've got to have the heart to really stay out there, put a high price on your wicket, and just fight the whole way. Never give in. And to be not bowled out for 94 and some of the dismissals, you think, well, I think it's they're putting this tour behind them, and hopefully they can regather. Not sure what they can do in the short space between now and the Australian tour, but they need to do something. Since
you talk about the Australian tour, we have Sunny Gavaskar as our expert. He comes here very often. He said, looking at the way the team is going, he doesn't expect anything better in Australia. As someone who supports Aussie cricket, do you think they'll be relishing the opportunity to play this Indian team, the Aussies there?
Yeah, well, it's been, I always support Australia, there's no doubt about that, but I think the Indians are going to find it very tough there. Last time these 2 teams met was in India here, and India dominated, beat the Australian team 4-0, but I think Australia's come a long way in that time. We saw last year, the Ashes series, Australia dominated and beat England 5-0. So for India, have just lost quite convincingly to England, to now go to Australia.
And the same team that lost to Australia.
Yep, exactly. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough for them.